I have a topic about Willy Wonka that I could bring up on tonight's show, okay? It's totally relevant. I'll find a way. Oh, it feels good to be back. It feels good to hear this song. Oh, I hope you find some kind of peace of mind. It's your boy Matty B, Epis Radio Entertainment. This is Mental Mondays with episode 29. Thank you for joining me. If you're still here from the previous stream, well, we've been streaming for about 2 hours now. If you're watching in post, please like, comment, share, subscribe. Keep those notifications on for any future live streams or live recordings of these episodes. Shout out to my co-host for holding it down, doing a double dip for the Mondays. Big shout out to guest speaker Gino for doing his thing as well. It's been a while since I did a Mental Mondays. Definitely by intention. All right, it's not that I, didn't want to come on and just, I didn't have material, didn't want to talk, whatever. Had plenty of subjects to talk about, but the desire. The title of today's show is The Only Guarantees in Life Are Death and Taxes. And that's going to tie into this week's mental health video of the week for a couple of reasons. It's not my original thought. You've probably heard the phrase before. My godfather, rest his soul, passed away of lung cancer a while back. This is something that he always used to tell me. He was a man that read many books. Always had his nose in a book. And he'd lock himself away in an apartment with his, marbles and just yellow stained walls and just read literature. That was his thing. Read literature and listen to music. Bob Dylan was his favorite, and Bob Dylan's one of mine as well. Loved him to death. Wish he was still around, but I was thinking about him recently and, trying to kind of, put things into perspective for me in my life and where I'm at. Something we talked about on episode 60 for episode sports with my guest, Steve Adorno. Something that Dubby brought up to him, asking him about writer's block and, what do you do to get out of that? And for me, it wasn't so much writer's block being an issue, although I was finding myself at times having issues putting together, what I wanted to, create for you, in terms of, my daily content that I was putting out on the socials, whether it be Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube. My ice bath content, my running content, the mental health videos of the week, finding time to fit all that in while, finding time to be a father, a husband, a friend, and also finding ways to keep that fire and that passion alive. And I reached a kind of a burnout point for me that it just became detrimental for my own, mental health, and especially everything that's going on politically right now. Being a victim to the algorithm was starting to weigh down on me. I also speak about that in a 3-minute reel that I released on Instagram. You can go check it out. And what I'm saying here in terms of the title of the show, The Only Guarantees in Life Are Death and Taxes, and how this ties into what I'm talking about right now, is that, although that's a pretty grim statement, that the only two guarantees in life are death and taxes, there's some truth to it. I speak about that on this week's mental health video of the week, which I'll play for you shortly. There's some truth to that statement, and truthfully, what I got from it is that there's just simply no guarantees. You know, no matter what you do in life, there's going to be consequences. You could fail, succeed. You can expect an outcome when it turns out to be one that you really don't desire. Worrying about it in that moment is irrelevant and unproductive, and oftentimes detrimental to one's creative mind. And for me, I think that that passion was starting to get lost somewhere. I felt like I was performing rather than creating out of just pure passion or desire. I felt like I was, clocking into a 9 to 5 and, you know, trying to be somebody I'm not. Not that like a lot of my content is not genuine, because if you know me, it truly is. But I just felt like, okay, like, especially leading up to the mental health videos of the week, like I stressing out, like, okay, what am I going to come up with now? What am I going to think about now? And it's like I was putting these deadlines on myself that otherwise don't exist. I mean, I'm sure there's some people, and I know I've actually, some people have said, oh, what happened? Like they've noticed not doing as much, like Mental Monday videos or just overall content. And again, just out of the need to reinvigorate the passion, I had to step away in terms of creating like daily content. I was still doing a podcast, you know, just not spending hours behind the computer, behind that screen, editing, all these short videos that you see, things like that. Sometimes it requires a lot. It requires a lot of my time and attention away from my kids and, my wife. And, as much time as I'm already spending away from them when, in terms of, me working 4 days a week and just, I'm training for marathons and running, when I go on my runs, I'm away from them sometimes hours at a time, and that in itself, weighing down on me. On top of that, just the stresses of performing and doing that. And again, how it ties into the title is that I was working myself up thinking that I needed to do this, I needed that, for whatever reason, trying to justify the time spent, the effort spent. And, ultimately, I started to like look introspectively on it. I was like, what am I doing it for? To lose 2 followers, in a week, and not like gain any or anything, or to, get a couple of hundred of views or whatever. And, that in itself was like, okay, like what I'm, as nice as it is that I did have fun putting out certain content, but like, I think I put too much on myself, and I was starting to feel that. As I've been going strong at it for now about a year and a half. Just ever since we really been putting content out on YouTube in terms of short form, long form, all that. I've been just going full throttle. Really haven't stopped. Taking a few breaks here and there, but for the most part, this is the first time where I was like consciously like, I'm just not going to make videos. And a part of it was because I didn't want to, at the moment. And it's not that I wasn't showing up for myself, because the motto of the show, the motto of Epis Radio Entertainment is keep showing up. You hear me dub and, say it all the time. And that is the motto. But I think somewhere along the way, I forgot to show up for myself, and I was more focused on showing up for you guys. And even if it meant just gaining that one follower or whatever it is, or those couple of likes, cool, awesome. I hope to inspire, you know and motivate others through my content. um it certainly makes me happy when I see like my co-host streaming and doing his thing with his cousin, or other guys coming on. The other night, we had my boy Israel on again. He's been really coming on the podcast, and being a regular. I love that. you know I've seen other friends want to be a part of it too, be a little bit more proactive, and you know that's what I want. I love that, and that's great. And I think I had to shift the focus to the actual show, and instead of spending hours on end, editing video and doing as much as I still want to do that. Like, I have so many ideas. I'm sitting on hours and hours and hours and hours of potential content that I could be creating, and I want to create it. I want to do it, but I have to be true to myself, and I have to understand, like, hey, there needs to be a nice balance, and the no guarantee here is that it doesn't guarantee me success or happiness if I spend more time doing that than as opposed to focus on some other aspects of my life. Understanding that I'm never gonna have kids again, and that these kids are only gonna be this age once. Tomorrow they'll be older. The next day they'll be older. The next year they'll be older. You only get these, toddler years once, and I feel like it's already behind me with my oldest son, and I have, you know, my feelings about that, and I certainly don't want to, waste. Not waste, because it's not a waste, and that's the battle in my head that I'm starting to like still having trouble gripping with, because I don't see what I do here as a waste, but the reality is at this time, I'm not monetizing off any of my content as much as I sure as hell would like to, and I think we've done a hell of a job in our pursuit of that, and in reality are not too far from achieving that, but still there has to be that understanding that that, hey, there's other more important things. And on top of that, my health. I really, I had a hospitalization a while back. I went to the ER for chest pain, things like that, and ultimately things looking good. There was something that showed initially up on my EKG, but I did have a follow up appointment with a cardiologist, and things are okay. I am gonna do a stress test, stress echo soon. I should have already scheduled that or done that, but I've been putting it off and still working out and otherwise. I got a little confident after talking to the cardiologist because he didn't seem too concerned. But, we both agreed, hey, listen, it's good to get a good read of your heart and see where you're at. And me being a marathon runner, like, we should just get a full, good understanding of what's going on. Especially, 34 years old. I'm not, a spring chicken anymore. I'm not old either, but it's a nice midpoint in my life where it's like, hey, I'm trying to do these athletic feats. I'm trying to really go hard, in the ultra running community as well. You know, these 50-mile, 100-mile races. I mean, you can only imagine what that does on your organs. It's not good. Some of these 100, 200-mile races, you can run the risk of organ failure because you're depleted of certain nutrients and all that. So it's or electrolytes and just the whole nine. So it's a good thing to get checked out. I'm excited, just to see where we're at with that. But again, all these things were starting to weigh down on me, and again, it just took a little bit of introspective thinking and saying, like, hey, man, maybe you need to slow it down just a little bit right now. As much as I want to just be cranking out video after video after video, I think there'll be a time. I want to be healthy enough so that I live long enough so that there is a time in which, you know, the kids are at school or they're at, practice, whatever, like, and they're doing their thing where, okay, I can, squeeze in a little editing time in between other things, or even not, maybe even spend more time with the wife, whatever it is. Um, I'm all about doing things that make you happy. If you're not doing it, and if it doesn't make you happy, whether it be work related or whatever it is you're doing, then why the hell are you doing it? And for me, in terms of pushing out content, it was getting to a place where it seemed like it was more of a job. And if it was truly my job, like this is what I did 8 hours a day, and, I was working towards monetization, things like that, then okay, cool. I probably would feel a lot better about it. But, I still have a real job that I go to. I have that, 9 to 5, it's 7:30 to 4 for me most of the time, but I need more coffee. If my wife is listening, can you refill my coffee, please? Or how about this? I want a little seltzer, maybe. Sorry, you're watching. Like, this guy's really about to, like, get his wife. Yeah, I'm gonna bother my wife right now. It's probably, like, sleeping on the couch, maybe even breastfeeding our child. And I'm gonna ask her for some seltzer. Maybe I wanted to come on the pod and talk a little bit. All right, how about that? So while I actually get that done, probably a good time, pro streamer over here. I should just show you this week's mental health video of the week. All right, like I said, it's been a while since I put one out there, and nothing crazy, simple, to the point. It's kind of what I've been doing with the Mental Health Mondays, and hope you enjoy it. I'll talk a little bit about it. I've already touched on some of it a little bit for you, so nothing new there. Let me finish queuing it up, and here we go. My godfather always used to say the only two guarantees in life are death and taxes. Now, albeit that statement's pretty grim, but there's some truth to it. And the takeaway I get is that simply that there are no guarantees in life. You can only control what you can control. Don't let other people's opinions dictate your movement. Do what makes you happy. Stay true to yourself. And whatever the outcome may be, come to terms that it may not be always the outcome that you wish for. Success comes with failure. You're not out of time yet. It's never too late to learn a new thing. Put yourself out there. Do what makes you happy. And most importantly, keep showing up. My godfather always used to say the only two guarantees in life are death and taxes. One more time. Now, albeit that statement's pretty grim, but there's some truth to it. And the takeaway I get is that simply that there are no guarantees in life. You can only control what you can control. Don't let other people's opinions dictate your movement. Do what makes you happy. Stay true to yourself. And whatever the outcome may be, come to terms that it may not be always the outcome that you wish for. Success comes with failure. You're not out of time yet. It's never too late to learn a new thing. Put yourself out there. Do what makes you happy. And most importantly,
keep showing up.
Keep showing up.
That's right. All right. The only guarantees in life are death and taxes, as my godfather said. And listen, like I said before, and in the video, it's a pretty grim statement, but in a way, it's true. I mean, truly, when you look at the statement, yes, the only guarantee is death for sure. You are going to die. We are not, capable of living forever, and taxes are unavoidable unless you're the president or a politician, in which it benefits you. I don't know. So maybe it's not a guarantee for them. But for the common folk, it's a pretty much guarantee. All right. Don't have much time tonight because I want to end at an appropriate time for myself. But man, oh man, if you haven't heard, here we are with another war with Iran, and just all the news that we're hearing, the development about it. You're seeing two narratives get pushed out. How Iran wants this, it's a leadership change. It's freedom for Iran, but I'm pretty sure the Iranians are not okay with the U.S. bombing schools, killing 115 kids, for freedom. Something about that doesn't really sit well with me. So I don't know about you, but doesn't seem like we're fighting for freedom, I don't know. That's just me, though. What do I know? But anyway, in regards to the video, simple little setup right there in my living room. The lighting wasn't too great. I have pretty crappy lighting in there, so I had to mess around with that a little bit just to bring some light to my face, But yeah, simple, to the point, and what the takeaway is, just do you. Stay true to yourself. Block out the outside noise. Understand that you're never too late to learn something new. And no matter what it is that you do, no matter how hard you work, there's just never a guarantee that is going to work out. And that's not to discourage you, but just to understand, never get too high, never get too low. Kind of this too shall pass perspective of, understand this life is tough. You're going to make mistakes. Success does not come without failure. You're just not going to be successful all the time, every single time, and whatever it is you do. I mean, there's some people that, those are the elites of the elites that, just keep winning sometimes. But even then, you don't see the small failures behind the closed doors that, people need to go through, unless you're just spoon fed, money, and you just, shit excellence. I don't know. It ain't me, man. That's for sure. And, certainly as a father, there's no guarantees in life, in terms of how you have an idea which you want things to play out in your role as raising your kids, and how you want their lives to play out, while guiding them but not trying to influence them in a negative way. And I think the harsh reality for most parents is that it never plays out the way you expect it to. There's always going to be twists and turns to what it is going on. And I think that's the mark of a good parent, is that you're flexible, and that you're adaptable to those situations. And again, understanding that just there's no guarantee in parenthood, in adulthood, whether it be with your friendships, a spouse, your job, your health. No matter, you can hit the gym every single day, eat the healthiest food, and then still drop dead tomorrow, man. And again, it's not to bring you down. Oh, Beyonce, what's going on, Beyonce? Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you. Can never forget you now, Beyonce. So thank you for tuning in tonight. Happy Mental Health Monday. Hope all is well. Beyonce coming over from Twitch. What we're talking about now. Well, Beyonce talking a little bit about me. A little introspective conversation of just about focusing on my mental health and focusing on my happiness and what, you know, what drives my passion and my energy with like things like this. You know, we just went over this week's mental health video of the week. If you don't know, you can check it out on my Instagram or YouTube. I got the handles right up there. My personal page, Epis Benedetti. Uh, the business page, Epis Radio on Instagram. And then, of course, Epis Radio here on YouTube. Typically, every other Monday, I put out a mental health video of the week where I just, it's not a little, like little life lessons, little motivational, I don't even know what you call them. Sometimes it's like kind of spoken poetry. Sometimes it's just, me talking to you as if you were, sitting on the couch next to me and we're just having a conversation. It's meant to be motivational, inspirational in any way, shape, or form. If if you're struggling with depression, things like that. Something that I have for a long time, especially after my dad passed away when I was a lot younger. I like to have these conversations. I like to bring people together. Every you know, oh, what are you saying? I like to bring people together, every now and then on these, mental health Mondays and just, have a conversation. It's it helps me. It's nice to nice to do it. It's a kind of like a natural, form of therapy. But yeah. It's so important to just do you, don't hurt anyone, no. And if people aren't receptive or think you're weird, just be like, LMAO, bye. I agree with you. I agree with you, Beyonce. And I think that's oftentimes the case, especially with people who are very confident in themselves. Sometimes it comes off almost rude, almost to the point where like people don't really understand you, like you said, they're not receptive to it. And that's been a big part of my 30s, my early 30s here. I'm 34 now, and I've you touch on such a great topic because for me, I'm really trying to just surround myself with like-minded people at this point in my life. It's a lot of I've had to weed out a lot of toxicity around it, and unfortunately, I've had to drop a few friends that otherwise years ago, 5, 10 years ago, I would never think it was the case. It's a shame. People that I thought would be around forever, that just ultimately, you'd think they, fully supportive, but at the end of the day, kind of like that backhanded support or not really, not really for you in a lot of ways. I see that at my job a lot. A lot of young folk at my job, but even in the older, there's a lot of just toxic, traits amongst others, or just how they treat other people, and people are so afraid of movement at times, and God forbid you got something going on for yourself, like what I do here, with the podcast. I mean, I'm not no pro streamer. I don't got thousands of people watching me. I don't got I'm not making money off of it right as of right now, at least. Obviously hopes for that in the future, but even then, Um, Even if I had all of that, I would still remain who it is I am. People conform, to the algorithm, something that I've been talking about heavy. I just sometimes I find it funny. A lot of the content I put out there online, it doesn't get perceived very well, or even worse, I'll see other content get put out there that, yeah, it's just foolishness. It's just, foolishness made for laughs and all that, and clicks and likes, and it's got no real meaning behind it. And I guess, there's a place for that, obviously, in social media, and, just for, you know, comedic sake and all that. But it's just, it boggles my mind how, like, sometimes I'll put my heart and soul into a video or something like that, and yet it gets like, a cup 3-4 likes, and it doesn't even get fed to the algorithm because it's just not what people want to see or hear or do or whatever. I don't. Maybe my content is just shit and I'm not good, and maybe that's why it hasn't taken off the way I maybe think it should at times. I definitely have some good videos out there, especially on YouTube, some that have reached some pretty big heights, but you know what I mean? Like, it's just, you know, sometimes you got to block that out, especially in this content creation space. And I think that's a part of this, the whole topic of this episode is that, there's no guarantees in life. The only guarantee is death and taxes. And just because I do put my heart into soul doesn't mean the right people see it. Doesn't mean, it gets perceived. Oh my God, my arm just came out. Oh no. Doesn't mean that it gets perceived the way I, truly wanted to, but it is what it is. What do you let me catch up on what you're saying here. Beyonce. Uh the trash goes on the curb for a reason. Sometimes you do your spring cleaning in winter. Couldn't wait another day to get out on the curb. It had its moment with you, but someone else can maybe benefit from that energy. I mean, spot on. That's a hell of a comment, actually. I'm gonna pin that comment right there for you, for everybody to see, because that's worthy of it. It's the, it's the comment of the night so far. I'm gonna pin that right there from Beyonce. The trash goes on the curb for a reason. Sometimes you do your spring cleaning in winter. Couldn't wait another day. Oh, you blocked it out for me. Oh, there it is. Couldn't wait another day to get it out on the curb. It had a moment with you, but someone else can maybe benefit from that energy. And I think you're absolutely right. I think somebody else will benefit from that energy. I hope you're benefiting from that energy. I mean, I'm benefiting from your energy right now, and that's what it's all about. You know, that's why we do these mental Mondays, for reasons like this, because it makes me feel human again, right? Because you're right. Like, I could get deep in my thoughts and overthink it, and you know just rack my brain with these stories that really are not true or just irrelevant, or haven't come to fruition yet, and I'm stressing myself out over nothing. Meanwhile, the very thing that I'm stressing may not even be the case. And that, again, that goes to there's no guarantees in life. That's the idea of it. Yeah, it's a beautiful thought. And so for me, I just, again, I had to kind of take a step back, like I was saying earlier, and reinvigorate the passion. I went on vacation. I went up to Lake Placid with the wife and kids. That's my home away from home. Anytime I get to go into the mountains and just put down the phone, put down the computer, and get away from all the screens. Sometimes it's necessary. That's my way of resetting. And like I had spoke with a previous guest of mine on the Epis Sports podcast, Steve Adorno, my cousin, on episode 60, how we spoke about that, how you got to switch it up. If you're feeling a bit of writer's block, or you don't quite have the same passion you once did, changing it up, going on a vacation, getting out of that everyday routine because I felt like it was just, day after day, going to work, coming home, filming a video, editing a video, spending hours on end, doing that and just trying to squeeze in a workout there with the kids, do that. And it was just like every day, like just nonstop 24/7. Like on top of that, getting no good sleep, which is something I still need to work at because here I am. It's 11:11. Make a wish, everybody. I don't know if you do that. Beyonce, do you do that? You make a wish on 11:11. I have this coworker all the damn time. She'll catch it every single 11:11, and you gotta make a wish. You do in fact do that. There you go. There you go. I still kind of do it. I do. It's weird. I don't believe in all that type of stuff, all that, but like that's one thing that like I don't know. I go along with it. I'll make a wish. Screw it. Can't hurt. Yeah. West Virginia Mountain Mom. Going to the cut, the sticks is the best. Oh, absolutely. Are you from West Virginia, Beyonce? I do, yeah, because I'm a 6'3" gay guy. Damn, you're tall, Beyonce. That's wild. It's coded in my DNA. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt, no doubt. Yeah, I mean, listen, it's one of those things, right? You just do it. No, I'm from Virginia, but close enough. Okay, cool. No doubt. You're in New York now? I wonder. I'm like, do I know you? Do I know who this is? DC. Okay, DC. Okay. Because I'm about to say, not for nothing. I have a friend, of course, I'm like wondering, like, but they're never like on Twitch, so I was like wondering if they maybe created an account. I also know a 6'3" gay guy. Not that there's not a lot of them, because I'm sure there is. Yeah, totally generalized. But I was like, wait a minute, because I know I don't know where from the South he is. I think he's from Georgia though, actually. So yeah, no, close enough though. DC, no doubt. Oh, nice. That's dope. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, that's the whole point. I just appreciate you for being around. It definitely don't be shy. Come through. All right. I appreciate your back and forth banter and you know, always fun to meet new people. Um, you know, definitely pro gay environment here, so you have nothing to worry about that. You can feel comfortable and I'm an open book, Beyonce. I'm all about it, so I'm I'm I believe it's pansexual, right? Myself, I don't hold on to the titles too well, but I'm all about it. All right, don't worry about that. Sexually speaking, you know, it was Adam, Eve, and Steve. So it's it's all good with me. And my wife too. Actually, my wife, she before me, she was dating women and all that. So we're definitely open books when it comes to things like that. I was like, look at this guy talking about baseball or whatever. Yeah, I do two different types of shows. So this is the Mental Mondays with Epis. Epis is my alter ego name. All right, it was a word that my dad created. He's no longer with us, passed away from liver cancer a long time ago, back in '07. But he always used that word as his word. It was a word that he created that he really used it for anything. It was just a word that it was filler. You could use it in any type of context. It meant whatever you wanted it to mean. And I kind of, in honor of him, I kind of rolled with that and used it for a while as an acronym to launch my sports show. And we use it as an acronym of everything possible in sports. Now it just is Epis. Like I'm kind of dropping the acronym, been going through a little bit of rebranding lately. So again, we have typically, I used to do it every Monday, but now it's kind of like every other Monday. I do the Mental Mondays with Epis here on live on Twitch and YouTube. And then I do, throughout the week or whenever, we're available. I do a sports show, Epis Sports, usually with my co-host, W. Dubois. I know you tuned in the other night with my guest speaker, Israel. And that was pretty funny. You definitely. By the way, Beyonce, if it's okay with you, since I have you now, I wanted to ask, and I'm not gonna like reveal like your identity or whatever, but obviously I guess we'll reveal your part of your Twitch name because we were talking about it. But I was thinking about cutting up a short video of just that moment, just me and my guest speaker's reaction of what you said in the comments, just as like a funny way to promote the show and like, things can get wild on a Friday night with on the Epis stream, so yeah. Okay, your IG's in the profile, I'm pretty sure. Beyonce, I mean, sure you don't have to do it if you don't want to, but I know you already follow me here on Twitch. Hit me up. You got my handles right there. Follow me. Follow me on IG. I'll follow you back. And that way, I mean, if you don't mind, I could tag you or even I tag you as a collab invite for that short video. I would, that would be dope, that way you could see it, be a part of it. The collab, I don't know if I'm sure you know how the collab invites work on IG. That means it'll like show up on your wall and all that. If you don't want that, that's fine as well. But yeah, like it was an idea that I thought of. I was like, I got to kind of like cut that up real quick, and just because I'm trying to, again, more back on the subject of trying to find ways to create content and promote the show and all that. And I think shifting my focus more again on these live streams and just showing up and listening to the podcast, whether it's not when we're not live and things like that. I want to put more eyeballs, more listeners on that. I love the short form content, and nowadays the algorithm will tell you need to make short form content, but I much more prefer this. I don't know, call me old school, whatever. I guess old school now, like how long a freaking podcast's been around. And I remember when none of this shit was around. I'm old enough to remember that. But or it's just old school radio, which is why the radio is in my title, because we do a live recording of these podcasts, but it's the production is in kind of radio format. So that's kind of my thing. I've always done it that way. I have a fascination for radio. Listened to a lot of sports radio growing up, and just radio in general. Like we always had the radio on. My mom's always playing Z100, playing the freaking music, whatever. It was either Z100. I know my dad used to play this jazz station, 88.3 FM. And I think it switched over to like 89.9. I still listen to radio to this day. It's a dying art. It's a dying thing, and that's why I kind of like doing my shows like that. But anyway, now I'm just off ranting and all that. But hard, send it all, man. Go big or go home. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying, definitely trying. It's just, again, 4 kids, all that job, it's there's only so much time in the day. I would spit out content and after content and content if I could and would, or if I had the time or manpower. A lot of these big productions, they have people that cut up this video. I'm just, most of the time it's just one guy, my other co-host. He's still learning the ropes when it comes to editing and all that. So, it has an slow build in terms of production there. So it's stuff. But hey, man, at the end of the day, the YouTube page is done well. We got a lot of subscribers on there, and Beyonce, appreciate it if you can check me out there too. Subscribe if you will, and for all the content, all the stuff. You can look back at all my crazy mental health videos. I have a lot of them. I don't count them anymore, but I did a lot of, poetry. I did notes to myself. Me and my wife did like 2 food reviews, which we want to bring back as well. We've been talking about doing more food reviews and all that. People love that shit. And again, but it's like I don't want it to be forced and like just we're doing it for the sake of, gotta enjoy it, gotta have the passion for it. And that's something that I've been struggling with mentally lately. It was just like I felt like I was over producing and just doing too much, putting too much on my plate. Had to take a step back and relax and, focus on me and my health and my mental health and just, I'm working out heavy again and that makes me feel good. I wasn't devoting as much time to that. I think seasonal depression was kicking in a little bit through the holidays. That's never easy. A lot of shit going on. It seasonal. It's always been rough for me through the holidays ever since my dad passed away. And shit, the topic of the show today, is basically paying homage to my godfather who also passed away of liver cancer years after my dad passed away, and he was just as relevant in my life as my father was. So, still, it doesn't stop hurting. Still has an effect on me. The holidays are a little bit better now that I have the kids and all that. It definitely reinvigorated that that feeling of happiness. But there was a time in my life where those holidays sucked, man. Like I didn't look forward to it anymore. It wasn't the same after my pops died, and now that I have my own family and all that, it definitely reinvigorates that. But hey, those dark days, the long, the short days, the long nights, the cold, and this winter's been cold, and I like the cold, but holy shit, it's been cold. Yeah, I know you've been catching some of the weather down in DC. You know, um, it's been freezing up here in New York. So, and I went up to Lake Placid not too long ago. It was even like -5, -10. When you're not getting that sun, when you're not in that sun all the time, that shit has an effect on you as well, man. And then on top of that, whatever sun I'm not, I wasn't getting no sun. I go to work or I'm in here in the house editing and with the kids. One of my sons disabled, so he requires a lot of attention and time and all that, and got a 6-month-old that definitely requires the attention and time and all that. So it's not easy, man. Got a lot on the plate. I got to be realistic with myself and understand, like, hey, you're doing too much. I think my body was telling me I was doing too much too. My heart was feeling it. I thought I was having a heart attack at one point. Went to the ER. Just had to like, okay, relax. Next week, not next week, 2 weeks. 2 weeks, I'm going down to Florida, going to see my co-host, bringing the kids, bringing the grandmas down there. So, definitely some much needed sun, some much needed relaxation. I do have some things in mind for the show, so we're gonna be doing that sports related stuff down there with so I'm gonna go to some spring training games, things like that, and really, I got some things in the works down there I'm excited about. So really looking forward to that. But ultimately, again, stepping out of the mundane and stepping out of that everyday routine, switching it up, catching a different vibe, and reinvigorating that passion a little bit, and just living, enjoying myself, having fun. Let me catch up on your conversation. I know you've been going back and forth with me here, Beyonce. Oh, that's what's up. Also, random. What is the blacked out poster behind you? So it's not a poster. So you're talking about this one right here, right? So that is like soundproofing stuff. Those like foamy materials and all that. I got my Mighty Duck skeleton over here. I think we named him Bob. We'll go with Bob. Bob is good. Behind me, I have a Curtis Grandison sticker on the wall. For no particular reason either. Obviously I love the Mets, but like I got that like a while back. I forget where exactly. So I was like, screw it, let me put it up. In the corner, I got an MF Doom poster. And then it's a Batman and Joker kind of poster as well over there. But yeah, I had bought all these soundproofing things, and right behind that wall is actually where my daughter and my other son sleeps, my son Charlie. So, um, I kind of wanted to add a little soundproofing to it. The idea was I was gonna like soundproof the whole freaking room, but you know, I thought that I didn't have enough, and when I initially had bought it, so I only had so much. So I soundproofed the door, which you can't see. That's behind my divider here, that has all my sports memorabilia and my my medals from all my running and all that, which you can't really see now. It's like cutting off half of it, but I like the aesthetic of the soundproofing and all that. I don't know. Does it look dumb? I kind of like it. I like Bob sitting in the corner though. Bob's cool. What you would call it? Yeah, I hear that's funny. I hope Beyonce sends me a cease and desist. Is Beyonce can't be your real name. Do you want to reveal your real name, Beyonce? You want to go by Beyonce? That's cool. Don't forget to follow me, Beyonce. Like I said, I'll definitely tag you in that collab and all that. I have my own business. Realize that. Okay, you have my own business, realizing that it really rises and falls at your own willingness to do it, and it's so agitating. Yeah, I mean, that's for sure, right? Especially when you own your own business. And I look at this, I treat it like a business. And the time and energy in which you put into it matters. It has an effect on it. And it does, because I've seen my analytics lately, and I'm like, damn, my numbers have gone down across the board. And I think now a lot of my content doesn't get seen because the algorithm is no longer pushing it out anymore because I kind of took a little break. That's fine. It is what it is. That's how the algorithm grows, and it sucks. It's a harsh reality of it, but at the same time, again, it's circumstantial. Like, I know if I just stay consistent again, I would see the growth I'm looking for, and ultimately, or I would hope. But again, no guarantees in life, so doesn't guarantee it either. You could, put all the time and effort and just fall flat on your face and just fail. Businesses fail, right? what is what is your business? What do you do? Be willing to plug you real quick. I used to live in London, and I was like, oh my God, get why they colonized the rest of the world, because the winter here is miserable. That's hilarious, by the way. Oh, man. Something better than nothing. A little goes a long way. My name is Alex. Alex, pleasure to meet you, Alex. My name is Matt. Matthew is the real full name. I go by Epis here on the stream. Some people call me Shaggy. Got a lot of alter egos going on. Just not super creative with usernames. See, you went with Beyonce Knowles. That's good. Probably not going to send you a cease and desist, but do you stream at all or no? Do you stream, or you just on Twitch? You just a viewer on Twitch? I have to do this. Me, what? What? Oh yeah, I got you. Yeah, I got you. What you're saying. Those of you that are watching on YouTube live with me, don't worry, I got you here. I can monitor the chat as well. So don't be afraid if you're here with me live. Chime in. That's why I'm reading off some of the conversation here with Beyonce so that you're informed. Otherwise, because I know you may not see the comments. Don't worry about that. Wait, was it? Oh, he's like, hey, oh my God, you don't have to plug me. No, I don't mind. I don't know. You got a business, man. I don't know. As long as it's, it's legit and it's legal, it's good and appropriate. I just do the due diligence on people in business. Gotcha. No, I downloaded it because I wanted to see Clavicular hit his face with a hammer. Then I found out he's banned. Okay. That's wild, by the way. And then you found me. There you go. All right. So I mean, it's cool that you staying on the app. You're around. For that. That's cool. I listen. This app is crazy. Twitch has been around for a while. And I'm sure you know. But it's been a fun space. We have an online community that is full of a bunch of content creators. It's called Shiv Nation. It's in the bottom corners of the screen here. That's the official emblem of Shiv Nation. My brother runs the community on Discord. It's full of a bunch of content creators and just like-minded people that you know looking to support others. Looking to uplift others, and just in this content space. And without my brother Zero Sorrow on Twitch, definitely check him out, give him a follow. He hasn't streamed in quite a while. He's been in the midst of a move, moving to New Jersey, close to Philly, about 20 minutes away. So he's, kind of going through a full home renovation right now, so he doesn't have his stream set up. But without him, man, I'd be nothing. I wouldn't be on this app streaming, and it's always good to meet new people. It really does excite me. And again, as much as I do find enjoyment in creating short form content, all that for social media. The bread and butter is the show. The bread and butter is being here behind the camera, and it's something that ideally in a perfect world, I could do, full time one day. Whether it be talking sports or just talking, nonsense. What we do on the Mental Mondays. That's why I like Mental Mondays, because as much as I love sports, it's not everything, and there's so much going on in the world, and especially I mention it all the time with the political state of things. Yeah, we all need a little mental health check. We need all just a little bit of breather. I don't care, what you believe in or who you believe in, who you support, it's just it's a lot of madness out there, and then us growing up in social media age. I don't know, from the sound of it, Beyonce, about Alex, was it? Um, Now I have a struggle with calling you Beyonce now. I'm from the sounds of it, sounds like you're not up there in age, but obviously if you're a business owner and all that, you have to be easily in your 20s, maybe 30s, maybe more. I don't know. I'm sure you've seen the transition of social media over the years, and just the effect it has on our lives and all that. So it's just I like that I have this platform, and I can bring people together and just kind of chill and de-stress, and it's just another way to reach out and create connections. And as much as I invite people to check out the final edited version, the podcast version up on YouTube, I really try to encourage those to find ways to get to the live recording, and join in and be a part of it. And something a part of my show is been getting just guest speakers on. Maybe at some point, Alex, it could be you. You come on the show, we could talk, and get your beautiful face up here, and have a conversation. And that's what it's all about. You know, at the end of the day, I could talk about me. I could talk about myself all day, every day. But that's no fun. I like to hear from people. I like to hear different perspectives. I like to hear what's going on in their lives. I think, we're all fucking superstars, man. Even the common folk, the person that's flipping burgers. I mean, some of us are assholes. You gotta call a spade when it's. But we're not all good eggs, I suppose. But there's a lot of people that need to be celebrated, man. And all we do in society is celebrate the elites, right? The athletes of the world, and the actors, the musicians, the artists. What about the ones who are cleaning the toilets, or just working two jobs, to support their kids and their families and things like that. Those are the real heroes, man. That's what. And I want to hear that from them. I want to hear those stories as much as I want to hear from some big time athletes and things like that, which, hopefully one day, we could get some on here in this show, but, or on the sports show. Mental Mondays too, though, man, because, mental health is just a problem in professional sports. So that doesn't get probably talked about enough. So, jeez. But yeah, you're out of here, Alex. Oh, good eye, good eye, good eye. I was like, I thought you were saying goodbye. I was like, don't leave me. Even though I'm about to end the stream shortly. I am in fact 30 years old. All right, so yeah, I was feeling that vibe. I was like, okay. Happy big 3-0, whenever your birthday was. That's a big one, man. It's a big one. It's never the same after that. Now it's like, like screw 31, right? Like, yeah, for me, when I turned 34, I was like, whatever, it's a birthday, Now, I guess 35 is kind of like a milestone. Okay, like it's the fives and the tens at that point. Like now we're just looking towards 40 at this is let me tell you. But this is when it happens, man. And 30 years old, you got a business, good for you. You're killing it already. Look at that. Like whatever it is you're doing, keep doing it. You got a whole hell of a lot of time ahead of you. Again, topic of the show, no guarantees in life. So, keep on grinding, do your thing, but don't get too high, too low. But hell of a job on you. You're in a better position than a lot of other people are already, and just understand, I know you may feel pressured on time and things like that, but you got a lot of time. You got a lot of years ahead of you. You know, hopefully, right? Knock on wood, we all do. But yeah, it's a beautiful thing. I think I'm gonna get out of here shortly. I'm actually, you know what? For you, Beyonce, since you didn't get a chance, this is just to, what I usually like to do here on the Mental Mondays. I used to usually at the beginning and the end. I'll if I do put out a weekly mental health video a week, I like to recap it. So this is for you, especially for you, and others and everybody out there. It's for all of you. But just to show you what I do in terms of some of my short form content, this is how Mental Mondays with Epis came about. It started with videos like this online. So here you go. My godfather always used to say the only two guarantees in life are death and taxes. Now, albeit that statement's pretty grim, but there's some truth to it. And the takeaway I get is that simply that there are no guarantees in life. You can only control what you can control. Don't let other people's opinions dictate your movement. Do what makes you happy. Stay true to yourself. And whatever the outcome may be, come to terms that it may not be always the outcome that you wish for. Success comes with failure. You're not out of time yet. It's never too late to learn a new thing. Put yourself out there. Do what makes you happy. And most importantly, keep showing up. All right, there you go. My godfather always... That's this week's mental health video of the week. Anybody out there, please like, comment, share, and subscribe on YouTube. And subscribe here, follow me here on Twitch as well. Hit me up on the socials. I appreciate it. Drop a comment if you like the video, you don't like the video. Okay, if you hate it, it sucked, let me know. It's all good. Everybody, we need a little constructive criticism every now and then. You might get a comment down me, you might not. I might put you on blast on one of the short form videos. I don't know. Excellent stream. Thank you. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. Failing is the best part. The best stories. People who didn't have to grind for jack are the most boring motherfuckers. You're right. I mean, and like who, yeah, unless everything was handed to you on a silver platter, all that, and you just been, shitting, excellence your whole life. Donald Trump. I don't know, anybody. I don't know about shit in excellence, but some way, it seems like shit in excellence in the eyes of some. I need a punch. Excellent stream. I like the excellent stream though. Listen, that's it. You know, it's there's no guarantees in life. Understand that you're gonna fail. Success comes with failure. You know, and it's those dark days. It's those moments of putting in that work. You know, that daily grind. But at the same time, it's very important that whatever it is you're doing, whatever it is you're grinding on, and that you're happy about it. That it's where you want to be. It's what you want to be doing. Otherwise, why the hell are you doing it? Yeah, truthfully, it makes no sense to me. And that's really it, man. And most importantly, keep showing up for yourself. Not just, for others because you think that's what they need. You need to prioritize yourself at the end of the day. If you're not right mentally, how do you think that's going to reflect in your relationships with others, especially if you have kids, spouse, the whole nine? You need to be right within yourself. You need to be happy. And, sometimes they may come with sacrifices. May not always be the ideal situation. And that's where the no guarantees come in. But there's only one way to find out. Don't give up. Keep showing up. And that's it. That's all I got for you guys tonight. All right, Beyonce, I just want to, Alex. See, I know that I'm going to mess that up. Alex on Twitch, thank you. Otherwise known as Beyonce. Thank you for showing up. Again, appreciate you being a part of this conversation. You actually extended my show tonight because I think I would have cut it about 30 minutes ago probably. So, look at that. You stuck me on here. We had a good conversation. It was a beautiful thing. I'm definitely going to have to go back, cut up that short and on it. I don't know if that was you, by the way. As I was playing this week's mental health video of the week, I'm looking online and I got a follow. It says whatever cool thanks. Is that the name that I got there? That's the tag name? Is that you? Just wondering. Is that on? I think that's on the Epis radio. If that's you, let me know. Just like DM me. DM me on Instagram. Hey, what up? It's Alex from Twitch. That way I know it's you. Awesome, though. And again, Alex, pleasure meeting you. We'll talk again. And hey, if you're ever interested or you just want to keep it within the comments, you let me know. Hit me up in the DMs as well. And we can maybe talk about potentially getting you on the show if you're ever interested. You want to talk. So. Or even if it's a simple little 5-minute, 10-minute call in, we are gladly inviting people to that. So I'm open to it, whatever it is. All right. Anyway, any which way, we love the conversation. It's beautiful. Alex, have a beautiful night, everybody. Live here on Twitch and YouTube. You as well have a very happy Mental Health Monday. All right, if you're watching in post, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. All right, I'm going to have this episode 29, Mental Mondays with Epis, and episode 62 of Epis Sports that was done earlier by my co-host and guest speaker, Gino. I'm going to have the final edited versions for those up this week. Stay tuned for that. And whatever else. We have an interview coming up, a big one. Hopefully, should be happening. I don't want to hit the promo because I'm still waiting on the final word on it, but I should have a big interview this Sunday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time It will be under the Epis Sports Podcast for those that are interested. So, but it has nothing to do with sports. She's a musician, talented one at that, and I'm really excited to have her on. But again, I don't want to put too much heavy promos on it because we're still waiting on the final word on it. But I'm hoping, I'm manifesting it, I'm putting it out there. I don't care. So I'm excited about that, to have that guest on. All right, everybody, have a wonderful night. It's your boy Matty B, Epis Radio Entertainment. All I can say, keep showing up.
Wake up! You can't remember where it was. Has this dream stopped?
Cue the music.
Hope you find some kind of peace of mind. And hope you find some kind of peace of mind.
I forgot to talk about my Willy Wonka topic. I'll save it for another Mental Mondays with Epis. All right, everybody. Have a wonderful night. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching.
Hope you
Keep showing up.
find some